in a pretty timely fashion, there are just so many overwhelming flaws with the game that a lot of people just tend to trickle away and leave this game. Understand, it's a new property. They're not bound to this game. It's not an ongoing, successful, and established franchise. They're trying this game for the first time, and if it's not really that gripping, they're going to leave. Fortunately, they do have time to salvage the operation. The game is not done. It is not dead. It's just simply dying. There's no reason to call time a death. There's still plenty of time for this game to rebound and do what it needs to, and it has to start with solving, I'd say, 3 key issues that it has. Now, they're fortunate to have a pretty solid game plan for DLC coming out, which means people are going to slowly come back. We know there's another incursion coming out in May, then the first big DLC in June, and because of this, some of these people that may have given up are going to give it a second chance, but if these problems are not fixed by the time those people return to the game, it's going to be bad news. They're going to open the door, honey, I'm home! Oh my god, what's that smell? It's like dog shit fondue. And those guys are just going to turn right back around and jump right back into the arms of whatever game they're playing. So, believe it or not, they've kind of created their own time frame to work within. They have until the next incursion comes out to give those guys that are giving this game a second chance a place to stay. And if that doesn't work, you gotta pray that enough of them comes back for the first expansion in June. So like I said, they have time to get this stuff done, but they just really gotta crank out that overtime to get it done. Now, the problems, woo! And there's a list of them, but there's 3 major things stepping in the line of success for this game. Number 1, what they gotta do is hire one hell of a world-class exterminator. This has to be done. There are bugs everywhere. Many of these have led into all kinds of infamous cheeses that have crippled the way the game works. That's simply not acceptable. And I know it wasn't intentional. They didn't put these things in the game for a reason. They were stumbled upon. People looked for these things, and they experimented with them, and in fact created a very, very messy area. A lot of bugs don't tend to bring up this large scale of a problem in video games. They don't. But they gave everybody a shortcut to in-game gear and gave them an advantage over other people in the Dark Zone, and this was just completely unnecessary. Most bugs are generally bugs that they can fix and do not have this kind of a weight on them. So moving forward, they definitely have to start being more aggressive. What they should have done is basically disabled that mobile shield. That cover needed to be stripped from the game as a temporary solution until they can find a way to make sure that it couldn't clip into other areas. They needed to disable that to save the state of the game, and instead they kept trying to fix the areas in which it could be used instead of fixing the core problem itself, and because of the way they handled it, it continued to be a problem on the game. Now, number 2, and this one is a big one for me because I main the Dark Zone. This is my favorite area. I love the PvP. The experience recently has been tainted for me. I have not enjoyed myself, and this comes down to the fact that there are things that exist in PvP that work well in PvE, but should not even be close to working as strong as they do in PvP. And this comes in the form of shock turrets and incendiary rounds. Now, I know a lot of people use this because it's the thing to do. But unfortunately, they are broken as hell, and people that use these things use them as crutches. It does not matter if you're talented. It does not matter if you're skillful. It does not matter what your gear is. Everything that you've earned to date is completely thrown out the door the moment somebody uses one of those against you. And it is because it crowd controls you so hard that you are incapable of fighting back properly. When I get hit by one of those, I'm either rooted in place for a couple seconds, and then for a few seconds after that, I can't use abilities, I can't even aim down sight and defend myself. Some of these things are way too strong. And the catch here is, unlike other RPGs, you're not building crowd control. You don't have to sacrifice firearms or stamina to build electronics so that you can actually do these sorts of things to people. You simply just need to equip them and press a button. That's way too much power and way too much control for just any person to have. So despite me being extremely well geared and a pretty solid player, if somebody hits me with a shock turret, I'm stuck in place for a few seconds. Even the worst geared of people can melt me in that time frame. This is the point in my argument where people that don't understand why this is a problem are going to say something along the lines of, well, why don't you use them too then, Pwn? And this is because it still creates a problem. The issue here is this game is about grinding. It's about building gear, and it's about competing against other people. Now, I want to go into the PvP area to find out how I stack against other people. I want to see if I'm going to be able to beat most of them. I want to see if I'm going to lose. I want to see how they play. The moment I shoot somebody with a shock turret or I hit them with incendiary rounds, they are dead. It's over at that point. They're not going to be able to fight back because it completely cripples them. And that is not a reflection of my skills. I wasn't talented. I didn't outplay them. I simply pushed a button and removed them from the equation. That was not a heads-up fight. That was the equivalent of 1v1ing a fire hydrant. It's standing still, it's not able to fight back. All those hours I pumped into earning this really good gear hasn't even been put to the test. So why grind for the gear if people can just simply disable somebody with the push of a button without having to ever really try for anything? Let's not stop there. There are still some pretty obvious balance issues out there. Let's talk about weapons. Everybody right now is using SMGs and marksmans, and this is because they have bonus attributes built into them. They have headshot damage on marksmans. They have built-in crit hit chance into SMGs. Why don't ARs have built-in crit hit damage? So then you can build crit hit chance on the attachments. How come shotguns don't have like a percentage of enemy armor damage? Why are there only 2 types of guns that have these advantages? These are little things that they need to really work and iron out before this game is balanced. And this leads me into the third and final problem. Assuming we fix and squash all the creepy crawlies, all the bugs are removed from the equation, all the issues are out of the way, we finally have balance, there's no easy, cheesy methods like incendiary rounds for PvP, and the game is ironed out and working flawlessly. We still have one major problem underneath, and this is the loot table. Not the loot system itself. The variables and all of that stuff are phenomenal. It's great, it's incredible, and it's worked for Diablo. It's going to continue to work here. The issue is the lack of loot dropping. As it stands, the only way to get anything nowadays is via crafting, so every high-end I get is basically materials. I don't need to look at it, and this is because 204 armor and weapons do not drop. This is a major problem for the game. You need to have that feeling of reward. You need to know that there are opportunities for upgrades, and without these things existing, the game will die. Even with all the bugs gone, people are not going to play a crafting simulator. It's just not going to happen. There needs to be potential upgrades that drop from killing NPCs. This needs to be a real thing. That also would increase the reason for doing things, because right now we just get high-ends to break down to craft other things, and that's not where their game should be. Hell, that's what they said they specifically wanted to go away from, and they made crafting even more necessary, made it a little harder too, so now we can craft less, but now it's even more of a necessity, and that's completely backwards and against what they wanted to do. So to me, if they go ahead and they tackle these problems, they're going to have a successful franchise. I honestly think they need to get them done as quick as possible before they lose any more loyalty, and there's still time to salvage this. And if they start to tackle these and they come up with some pretty timely solutions, I'm going to love the hell out of this game for years to come, honestly. So thanks for watching, guys. I felt like throwing my opinions out there. Feel free to leave yours down in the comment section below. Thanks for the support. I appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, leave a thumbs up. Subscribe if you guys are new here, and I'll catch you guys with a